so much.
Absolutely. Happy to. All right, everyone. As Rhonda kindly introduced, we're from Hinge Health, or I'm from Hinge Health. We are going to be going over a fun topic today, what I call from desk to dinner, which is all about enhancing your mobility from your workplace to your home life to playtime, which could be sports that you like to do or any recreational activities. A little bit about me. I'm a doctor of physical therapy. My name's Bijal Toprani. I work at Hinge Health. I am a physical therapist. I've been a physical therapist for over 8 years and worked at Hinge Health doing physical therapy for over four. Um, my goal as a PT is always to really help people move through their pain, make them feel better, but most importantly, improve their quality of life, because we know that if you're in pain, it's hard to feel comfortable in other things that you're doing. And sometimes it can hold you back from the things that you really want to be able to do. I also have advanced training in treating pelvic health conditions and working with geriatric patients, but I really do treat the full spectrum of types of conditions that you would go to a PT for. So, for today, I am going to go over the top complaints in terms of pain that I get as a PT that people report to me during their workday, during their home life, and then when they're performing hobbies or sports. And then after each issue, I'm going to provide you with a stretch or an exercise that's targeted towards that issue that I went over. So get ready to move with me if you're willing or able. I would love to have you join me in some of these moves. And then I'm going to go over some general exercise guidelines. I think it's good for us to all get a refresher on, what's the Surgeon General saying? How much movement should we really be getting? It can be confusing out there when we're hearing a lot of different guidance. So it's nice to do that refresher. And then at the end, I'm going to talk about the Hinge Health program, what it is, and give you some information on how to sign up if you are interested. Okay. So first, I would love to hear from you all. So I think people are able to comment in the chat. I'm seeing things come in. So if you look at the things on the screen, I want to know, what are the most challenging movements for you all? So send me a one in the chat if it's bending over when you try to tie your shoe or whatever it is that's really difficult. Give me a two if it's more like twisting moves, like maybe if you're a golfer or when you reach into the backseat of your car to tell your kids to stop fighting. Or a three if it's going up and down the stairs. Maybe you have knee pain or hip pain. And then give me a four if you're like, I feel solid. I'm good. I'm no problems here. All right, I'm looking at the chat because I like to know what's going on. Okay, we've got some ones, we've got some threes, one and threes, fours. I love a four. That's awesome. Keep doing what you're doing. Okay, great. Thank you all for sharing, and you can keep them coming if you want. I love seeing this. So as you can see, it's all about function. It's not just my knee hurts. It's what does your knee pain stop you from doing? That's what I like to think of as a PT, because if we get your knee pain better, then you can go up and down the stairs better, which impacts your daily life. Okay, so let's dive into the top complaints or areas of pain that people report to me when it comes to work life. Okay, so the first is neck pain. Studies have shown that about 50% of Americans will experience neck pain each year. And it's even been given all these fun nicknames like tech neck or text neck due to how much time that we really spend on our screens and what that inherently does to our postures and our bodies. So, symptoms might include things like an aching feeling, tightness or soreness in your neck, even into your shoulders, headaches, stiffness when you try to turn, and in some cases, pain that goes down into your arm or your hands. Causes for this can be due to being in one position for too long. So I don't know if any of you guys have teenagers, but like they're kind of all like down this way looking at their iPads for like extended periods of time. You kind of have to tell them, okay, give your neck a break. even we as being in the workforce are the same way, right? If we're on our computers all day, we don't necessarily change positions. That's one of the biggest causes, especially if your ergonomic setup, meaning your computer is too low and you're looking down all the time or you're looking up the whole time. You really want it to be neutral. Other causes can be tension or stress. We tend to hold a lot of tension in our upper trap muscles and our neck muscles. So, if this sounds like you, a few things that you can try are to adjust your monitor. So, try to get it higher so that it's at eye level and it's about an arm's length away. The second thing is move frequently. So, just change positions every hour or so, whether that means getting up and just moving briefly and then coming back to the seated position, or even just doing some movements, that's enough to really bring a little bit of movement into the day and break that prolonged period. And then lastly, deep breathing, my favorite. In through the nose and out through the mouth, it can really calm down your nervous system, which in turn can help decrease your body's feelings of pain and reduce the tension that can be causing some of the pain in your neck. So, as promised, this is an exercise or a stretch from our Hinge Health library that I often prescribe to people with neck pain. So go ahead and give this one a try now. You can do it with me or with Dulce, who's on the screen. So you can turn your head and look down towards your armpit. Start on whatever side you want, it doesn't matter. Hold that position for a few seconds. And then come back to neutral, like looking straight ahead. And then go to the other side, looking down at that armpit, breathing through the nose, out through the mouth, back to center or neutral. And then one more time on each side. Look at the armpit. Let your shoulders relax down. Now look to the center and go to the other side. Back to center. Awesome. Next complaint I hear about during a person's workday is low back pain. It's super common. In fact, 80% of people will experience low back pain at some point in their life. This actually makes it one of the most common health problems globally. Symptoms include things like an ache or tightness across your low back and hips, sometimes even a sharp pain localized in one area. People might have pain with certain movements. You might also feel stiffness if you try to get up from a chair after sitting for a while, or you get out of bed in the morning and you think, oh my gosh, that was pretty hard for me. Why is my back so stiff? Some people might feel shooting pain from their back down into their leg. You might have heard of this as sciatica or sciatic pain. And there are a lot of different causes for low back pain. Some of them include having a chair that might not have good lumbar support. Maybe poor lifting mechanics. Say you go to the gym and you're not quite strong enough to lift what you're wanting to lift, or maybe your job requires you to do a repetitive lifting. Also, being in the same position for too long. You're going to hear this again and again. Our mantra and my mantra as a PT is movement is medicine. So if you're in one position for too long, you are going to have outcomes of that could feel like stiffness and pain. So that's going to keep coming up. So whether you're sitting all day or you're standing all day, both things can cause pain if you're just in that one position. Also, having weak core stabilizer muscles can also predispose you to injury that can cause low back pain. So a couple of tips to help include adjusting your chair and adding some lumbar support. Now, this is super easy. I'm incredibly frugal. I don't like to buy lots of equipment. All you have to do is take a little towel, roll it up, stick it between your low back and the chair. There's your lumbar support. So very easy. You can also use a lumbar support brace if you're having to do a lot of heavy repetitive lifting. Next, try to move into different positions. If you're sitting all day, try to get up every hour. If you're standing all day, try to change positions. Even if it's just for a few seconds, it can really be helpful. And finally, adding in some core strengthening or abdominal exercises or general flexibility into your routine can be really helpful too. All right. So, what's a good exercise for low back pain? This one is incredible because you can do it anywhere, right? You can do it right at your desk. You can also do it if you're standing. And I like to add in side to side stretches because we don't really move in this way often, right? Everything we tend to do is mainly forward. Maybe we do some backward stuff. So we often don't get mobility or stretches into our spine and back in a lateral or, in other words, side to side direction. So that's why I like this move. So if you haven't started already, go ahead and join me. You can keep one arm just down to your side and you can follow Claire on the screen. Lift the arm up overhead and then over to the side. And just hold this move. Bring the arm down. And then lift the other arm and take it up and over. And again, always breathing through this. If you want to close your eyes, close your eyes. Arm down. Let's do one more on each side, up and over. And bring it down. And then again, up and over. And down. Beautiful. Okay, let's move into the next and last exercise or pain area I want to talk about in terms of the workplace. This is wrist pain. Common issue people complain about that affects them during their workday. A common diagnosis is carpal tunnel, which is when the median nerve, which is the nerve that runs through your wrists, can get compressed. So symptoms can include pain with typing. It can include numbness in your hands and your fingers, pain or difficulty with gripping. Maybe when you pick up your heavy water bottle, you notice some pain. Pain maybe when you're lifting a barbell at the gym. It can also feel like stiffness in your wrist or your hands. Some common causes can include, but of course aren't limited to, things like repetitive activities like typing all day long, gripping and lifting, tightness, so your mobility is lacking in your wrist, and poor desk setup, right? So for example, if you're sitting all day long and you're like this guy and your what's it called? Keyboard is really, really small. You're kind of always having to go inward with your wrist. You might feel some pain here. Um, so for him, he might benefit with the larger keyboard, but for some people, a small keyboard like that causes them no issues. And so if it's not broken, don't fix it, but just something to keep your mind on. And so what can you do if you feel this type of pain? Take breaks, right? So if you're typing all day, you got to break up that movement, doing some gentle stretches. And then also sometimes if it gets, pretty painful, at the end of your day, you can take a piece of ice, put it in a little towel and massage it over the area because maybe some of the parts around the nerve are a little swollen. And so some ice can calm down that inflammation. So the stretch that I would recommend for someone who's having wrist or hand pain would be this double wrist flexor stretch. So you're going to start in kind of what I would call like a prayer pose almost, but my elbows are out towards the sides of the room. And then you're gently lifting the arms overhead and then bringing them back down. So this is going to kind of help glide that nerve through your carpal tunnel, the tunnel that the nerve goes through, and help get some mobility through your wrist and through that nerve. Okay, awesome. We are going to move on to home life. So, what are the common things that I hear when I am working with people and they're telling me that things that they're doing in their daily life are painful? The top three that I want to go over are next. The first one is getting on and off of the floor. This is something that I hear people say gets really challenging as they age. And my elderly patients have the hardest time, but there's kind of like this uh, increase, a linear increase in difficulty as people age. That's what I've observed. So, what I recommend to really make it so that you're going against this progression is working on this movement. Now, this is a super functional movement, being able to get up and off the floor because it helps you do things that are pretty fun for most folks. Playing with kids, playing with grandkids, sitting on the floor with your dog, letting your dog jump on you and you getting to wrestle it a little bit, performing activities like yoga. And when you get older, if you have a fall, you want to be able to get off the floor on your own, right? A lot of folks can't do that, and it can be challenging. You have to call for help and things like that. So we're always planning for the future and trying to get as strong as possible. If you have a hard time getting up and off the floor, sometimes people will tell me the reasons why is because they feel a lot of stiffness in their hips. Maybe they feel like a pinching sensation, or they have a feeling of tightness in their knee joints. Or maybe when they try to perform the movement of getting up, they don't feel strong enough in their hips to really get that explosive movement up. Causes for this can be things like lacking mobility in your hips. If you're seated all day long, your hip is in one static L position all day. So we don't really get the mobility it takes to get on and off the floor, like moving your hip outward or moving it in other directions. Or simply, people might not spend enough time in that position. So their body's really not used to the range of motion it would take to go from standing to the floor. So if this sounds like you, a few things you can try is to spend more time on the ground. So you can spend a few minutes sitting down on the floor every day. I still have commercial breaks that I thoroughly enjoy. I don't forward through commercial breaks. So I'll take the commercial break to get down on the ground, do some gentle stretches, and you kind of feed two birds with one stone by getting on and off the floor and then also gently stretching your body. One of my favorite exercises, if getting on and off the floor is difficult for you, is called a figure four stretch. So you're seeing Dylan, my colleague, up on this screen performing this stretch. I'm going to scoot back, but I don't know if you'll be able to see all of me. My apartment's really tiny, but that's why Dylan's on the screen. So what you'll do is you'll take one leg, whichever one you want to start with, and you're going to place your ankle over your opposite knee. And for some individuals, simply getting into this position feels like enough of a stretch. You should feel it on the outside of your bent leg. So right now, my right ankle is on my left knee. So my right outer glute area is where I'm feeling a stretch. If you have a lot of flexibility and you get into this position and you don't feel it at all, you can make it more intense the way Dylan is by leaning forward and bringing your chest towards your calf. And you can hold it there for a couple of seconds. Come back up to a tall position. Bring that right leg down. And then bring your left leg onto your right thigh. And do the same thing, whether it's seated upright or it's leaning forward a bit. You might also feel differences in both sides. One hip feels tighter than the other. That's normal. We all have asymmetries in our bodies. Sit back up. We'll do one more on each side. And if you're at a different pace than me, don't sweat it. This is your time. So bring your other leg onto your thigh and lean forward if you'd like, or stay upright. There also might be folks on the call that say, I can't get my leg up on my other thigh like that. That's also okay. There's ways to kind of modify the move. So if you were to come into the Hinge Health program and you see a PT, we can kind of walk you through modifications, switch legs. We always want to meet people at the level that they are. There's no one size fits all stretch for anybody. And come back up. Great work. All righty. My next common complaint or issue people report to me about their home life is bending over. So you wake up in the morning, you got to bend down to tie your shoe, or maybe you're walking through your house and you have to pick up clothes off the ground. And symptoms that you might feel are tightness in your low back. You might feel tightness in the back of your legs or your hamstring muscles. You can also feel generalized stiffness or aching in your hips or back pain when you bend over. And common causes of this are things like spending a lot of time sitting. I'm a broken record, but it's the truth. Spending a lot of time sitting, not stretching if you lift weights or you're a runner and you finish your weightlifting workout or your run and you don't stretch at all. It's really important to try to squeeze in even a brief stretch to your hamstrings and your quads after a run. Not performing a variety of movements. So it's really important to move into different types of positions. What I mean by that is we spend a lot of times forward. So sometimes it's good to do some backward stretching, right? Counterbalance what we do every day with the opposite movement. So what you can do is break up the day by alternating between sitting and standing. You can also do some full body stretches after your workouts. And you can spend a few minutes each week in a deep squat position, something that you might normally get into. Now, this next move is going to help with some of those symptoms of pain with bending over. This is called a standing child's pose. So for any of my yogis out there that love child's pose in yoga, this is a nice, approachable way to do it if you don't have the space or don't want to get all the way down on the ground. So if you can and want to, join Miss Carol on the screen doing a standing child's pose. You can just use the back of your work chair or your desk, whichever one you want. And then just walk yourself away from that chair, bending into this nice hip hinge position. And then walk yourself back up to your chair. I don't know about you guys, but I didn't want to get back up. I really liked that position. I wanted to stay down there for a while. So you're always allowed to stay down there as long as you need. Now walk yourself back away from that chair. Lean forward again. And walk back up. Amazing job, you guys. Is that not just the most luscious little stretch? Okay, the last move for home life that I hear is difficult for folks is getting out of a low chair. So whether that be like getting out of a low car, maybe like somebody in your life has like a cute sports car and it's really low and it's hard to get out, or maybe getting out of a deep couch can feel challenging. So symptoms can include really effortful trying to stand up. Like it's not just easy. You kind of have to put a lot of gusto into it. Another symptom can be general stiffness when you lean forward. So when you lean forward to try to stand, that's where the problem happens. Or pain and discomfort in your joints, maybe your hips, your knees. Okay. So causes of this could be weakness. If your glute muscles or your butt muscles are not strong enough, or your leg muscles are not strong enough, it can be hard to get up from a low surface. Also, your body position is not really optimal. So you always want to try to lean forward to stand up. And then muscle tightness or joint tightness. So a couple things you can do is increase how much lower body strengthening exercises you do. If you don't even know where to start, we'll talk about Hinge Health in a little while, but we can help you kind of think through some of the ways to improve your strength in your lower body to make it easier to do these things and less painful. Scooting to the edge of the chair, leaning forward, and then pushing up is also a perfect thing to do. It sounds kind of fundamental, but if you're in that deep, deep couch, scoot to the edge of the couch, and then push yourself up. That'll be easier. And then gentle stretching goes a really long way. The best move to work on getting in and out of a chair is getting in and out of a chair. So this is called a sit to stand exercise. And I love it because it's a way to do strengthening anytime in your workday. So for example, say I'm working all day, this is my workstation, and I'm like, I'm going to work on my strength. All I have to do is scoot to the edge of my chair and do 5 sit to stands. So let's do 5 sit to stands together, okay? So scoot to the edge of your chair and just stand up 5 times at your own pace, but I'll count out for those of you who like to follow along. Here we go. I'm going to cross my arms across my chest, so I'm only using my leg muscles to do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There you go. Now, you can make that easier by making your chair higher. You can make it harder by making your chair lower, but it's super easy. Arms across your chest, 5 sit to stands. You just got a quick little workout for your legs in. Now we're moving on to recreational activities or physical activities. This is what I hear from my patients on what they have the hardest time with in their daily lives when they're trying to have play. The first is knee pain with hiking or stair climbing. So this might feel like pain in your knees when you're going up and down the stairs, feeling instability in your knee joints, kind of like they're just not as supportive as you need them to be, or low back pain. Causes of this can be weakness in your butt and your hips, tight ankle joints, or flat feet. I have very, very flat feet. So I sometimes have my knees caving in towards each other. My back hurts at times. So I have insoles that have arch support that help through that. Again, something your Hinge Health PT could talk you through. What you can do is incorporate glute and hip strengthening exercises into your routine. What does that mean? Squats, monster walks, if you're familiar with that. Those are great exercises. Also, working on ankle mobility into your routine. And if you would like and you have the ability to, you can see an orthotic specialist or go to a good shoe store and see if you can get an assessment on your feet. A great exercise for improving your hip strength is this one, a standing side leg raise. I'm going to get up and do them. Carol's on the screen so you can see her whole body. And let's do 5 on each side. So I'm standing, I'm holding on to my chair so I don't fall over. My leg is closest to the chair. My leg that's closest to the chair is staying standing, or is my standing leg, and my outside leg is lifting. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Awesome. Now, if you need, you can walk over to the other side. Hand on the chair. Closest leg stays standing, other leg out to the side. Let's go in 5 together. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I don't know about you all, but I'm relatively fit, relatively. And that already burned my hip muscle. Like I already felt it working after 5 reps. So this is a fantastic exercise. And other people did too. I see Cheryl, she's telling me it was burning. So this is a great exercise and super accessible. You don't need equipment, you don't need a gym membership. It's great. Okay, next one. I hear that sometimes people have a hard time with balance or they're trying to play with their kids or their grandkids and they don't feel like very agile or very able to move. They might feel achiness in their joints. They might feel like they're losing their balance, or maybe they feel stiffness when they try to turn directions. Causes of this can be a generally sedentary or inactive lifestyle, decreased mobility in your joints, or maybe just being out of practice with these types of moves. So what can we do? Move more. More walks, more sports, more gym time. Movement is medicine. If you have a hard time figuring out when and how to move, programs like Hinge Health that I'll talk to you about are a great way because you can get help for the pain that you might be experiencing and will help you figure out how to incorporate just 10 minutes of exercise into your day so that you can start to move more. Doing gentle exercises focused on mobility, and then incorporating balance into your fitness routine. So I think we all kind of might know, okay, I have to do cardio because I have to get my heart rate up, and I have to do strengthening because I have to stay strong. But we don't always think about balance. So this next move is a nice move to really work on balance and agility. Now, again, only if you're willing and able to do this move. And if you feel unsafe, like it looks like it's very challenging or hard, feel free to sit this one out. It's called a woodpecker stretch. So, what you'll do is you will just step 1 foot forward, bend your front knee, and bring your arms over your head. It's a stretch for your calf muscle. And getting into this staggered position is also kind of a challenge for your balance. I'm having to really focus on staying straight and not wobbling side to side. Now you're going to slowly bring your arms down, lift up your chest, and then take your leg and put it back next to your other leg. So that transition is a challenge for your balance. If you need, hold on to something. Other leg forward, bend your knee, and arms up. Arms down, stand up tall, foot back to neutral, and there's your little balance challenge for the day. The next one is pain with squatting or biking or pain in the ankles. This can feel like tightness in the ankle joints. It can feel like knee pain, maybe difficulty lunging or kneeling. This can be caused by calf muscle tightness or ankle joint tightness or weakness in your calf muscles. So, working on the strength and mobility of your calves and your ankles. One way to do that is a calf raise. So, you can do 10 calf raises with Sonam on the screen. If you need, you can hold on to something. And I definitely will hold on to something. And you can just simply do 10. So I'm going to hold on to this chair and I'm going to do 10 calf raises. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Sorry I made you sit down and stand up again. That was poor planning on my part. Okay, so we've gone through a few different moves. Now I'm going to talk quickly about exercise guidelines. There are universal guidelines on how much exercise we should get all day. The traditional guidelines for physical activity were originally from the 1996 Surgeon General report, and they stated that we should do moderate to vigorous activity for 30 minutes a day for 5 days a week. And we should also include strength training on 2 days per week. So there is more research now on those recommendations. Now, if you followed those recommendations, you're doing great. No need to change them. But I do want to say that there is kind of a myth that you have to exercise for 30 minutes at a time, and you have to sweat and you have to do it consecutively over 30 minutes. Let me explain. Recently, the Physical Activity Guidelines Advisory Committee did an extended review of the literature, and they concluded that scientific evidence actually supports doing physical activity accumulated in bouts of at least 10 minutes, and that can improve your health-related outcomes. Additionally, the evidence also suggests that physical activity accumulated in bouts of less than 10 minutes is associated with favorable health outcomes. So what that means is that even if you incorporate moves into your day, like taking the stairs, going on a 5-minute walk, doing 5 sit-to-stands, all of that accumulates to get you to your 30 minutes. So if you don't have time to go to the gym for 30 minutes of time, that's okay. Even doing 10 minutes 3 times is going to get you there. And so that's why I really encourage you all to try to incorporate a little bit of movement here and there to get those cumulative effects. Now on to the Hinge Health program. First of all, what is the Hinge Health program? Hinge Health is a program, a benefit that supports people that have muscle or joint pain that want to get a physical therapy playlist of exercises to help them through that. So what the program is it's all on your own phone or your own device, and it's digital physical therapy, which is really the cornerstone of the program. We use technology like motion tracking to help people know if they're doing their exercises correctly. We also have some other products like a nerve stimulation device if for members where it's appropriate. And we also have the ability for you to have video visits with your physical therapist and also have a health coach to support you through the program. So the app really contains all the educational resources for you. It allows you to meet with a physical therapist, with a health coach, and it gives you exercise therapy to help you relieve your pain, regardless of where you're feeling it or how long you've been feeling it. So the program, like I mentioned, it really supports you through any phase of your injury. So if you have had back pain for 5 years, 10 years, we can support you. If you went on a hike over the weekend and you rolled your ankle, unfortunately, I hope that doesn't happen. We can also help you through that. Maybe you had a surgery at some point and you never fully felt like you got back to 100%. So there's a lot of different use cases. We essentially support people through all of those different types of situations. So in order to get started with the program, you would go to a website that's specifically for your company, which you're seeing there on the screen, hinge.health/MESSA. I might be saying that wrong, I'm sorry. And you're going to fill out a questionnaire. on your medical history and on your pain levels. You'll get a follow-up email in about a day or two, and then we'll send you a welcome message with all your next steps. The application is probably the hardest part, takes the longest time. It's about 10 minutes of your time, like I said. But once you get into the program, it's super easy because all you have to do is download the app, and then you'll get all of your exercises through an app, and you can do everything right through there. So here's the website again, and it is very, like I said, very easy to sign up. And that's all of my information for the day.